Yo, what is going on, CoD Familia? It is your boy BN. Today, we are going to be going through all of the PvP data and stats for those 94 kingdoms that ended up registering for the first season of Rise of the Dragon, aka Season 3. Now, those 94 lucky souls are going to be able to test out the newest season first, and we're going to be showing you all the stats on them. I'm also going to throw out some prediction variations on what I think the matchmaking could look like. Now, one of the important things to get out of the way is that, as always, of course, if you enjoyed the content, make sure you throw us up because that helps out a lot. And if you're interested in any PvP stats or data stats and you'd like to get some information, you can check out the DataBot Discord. There's a link to that in the pinned comment description down below, and just reach out to Fuzzy. Now, the first thing I want to point out is that I think what is going to end up happening is similar to what happened last season, which is where it was the first time that they did not really have a kind of results phase. And you can see that here as well, right? They have the registration, matchmaking, brink of war. Now, what happened last season is that you could find the teams or the results for matchmaking in Brink of War, and I imagine that's probably likely what's going to happen this time around. So, in essentially less than 20 hours, at least as of recording this video, or tomorrow by reset on February 28th, we will know at that point, right? Or I should say March 1st, right? Because technically it's going to go into March 1st in game time, and then we'll know what those are going to be. I will most likely be streaming at that time because I think reset is around 7 or so for me, give or take. So for those of you that are interested, I am planning to most likely stream a little before that and then throughout that process so we can get all that stuff down. However, let's go ahead and get to the main reason why most of you are here, which is let's take a look at what those Gen Kingdom PvP stats look like, and then what can those potential matchups be, and I'd love to hear what you guys think as well. Okay, so let's transition on over. I am also going to remove my cam just for a portion of this because I just want to be able to show all these off. And I don't want anyone to feel like I'm jipping you because I have this beautifulness blocking a portion of the stats. So again, I'm going to kind of go through these. Let's highlight the columns first, then I'll kind of go through these somewhat quickly because I'm sure there was probably going to be some pausing and fast forwarding most likely. So we have Kingdom, Ally, top 300, merits, kills, deads, and heals are all top 300 as well. M over P, that's PvP activity, right? We're basically just taking merits and dividing that into the top 300. We have 60 to 80 mil, 80 to 100 mil, 100 to 125 mil, 125 to 150, 150 to 200, and 200 plus. Then we have total T5s and 100 mil plus T5s. Keep in mind, this data is as of the 24th, so it's about 3 days ago for when it was pulled. Okay. And again, I will be doing another data pool before for the Gen 1 KvK when this starts. I just have it at Gen 4 because I'm just kind of keeping track from when the Season of Strife started. That's just kind of where my mind is at. But this is essentially the Gen 1 pool. And so, like I said, we'll do another data pool probably around Zone 1, but definitely before Zone 2. Okay, let's go through so we can show you guys all of these groups. Or I should say all the kingdoms here going down. And again, this is all organized in top 300 order. And as I said, there is 94, so we're probably going to have to do, I think, 5 to 6 pages worth of this. And again, I'm sure there will be some pausing here and there for those. Oops, hang on one moment. I have to do this 148. There we go. Thankfully, it's doing like a decent job of going through everything I needed to. So I think we'll have one more page after this. Okay, cool. Awesome, we do. So that got us through everything there. Sweetness. And like I said, I'm sure there's going to be some pausing. Now let me go into, I will talk about some things in a moment, but I want to go into what I think some of the predictions will be. And I don't foresee this being a long video either. So I'm going to start in reverse order. So P3 is my prediction 3. Now, prediction 3 is organized based on 100 mil plus players, right? So this is one way that you could see some teams. Now, keep in mind, we also have to keep in line the map, right? This is important. So if I go into Rise of Dragon, I go introduction, let's go season map. Remember, there are 6 starting zone 1s. So you can't really, for the most part, have odd numbers. Thankfully, there's 94 kingdoms in this that are going into this KvK. So we already have the baseline for even numbers. Might as well just put it out there. So likelihood of me having to do more is less than likely. So with that, we also don't have to worry, based on the map for Season 3, of anyone kind of getting locked out of Zone 3. And what this means is that you have the opportunity to have, even if you ended up having 1, 2, or 3 kingdoms that were in a starting Zone 1, if you end up having more than 6 kingdoms in a KvK, you don't have to necessarily worry about anyone, as I said, getting locked out of Zone 3 or another zone. Everyone will be able to make it essentially to the FZ. And that's kind of where, we want to see that crescendo battling. So just keeping that in mind, right, as we press forward here. So this is the first potential matchup. And then second, now, again, I could have utilized multiple factors. That would have taken a little bit of time, and I'm a little short on time right now until the matchups are announced. And so for sake of time management, again, I wanted to kind of go with what I think are just a few ways that they could go about doing it. I actually thought for a moment maybe I could do it based on kind of total merits accumulated, but the problem is that when I looked at total merits accumulated and M over P percentages or PvP percentages, some of the kingdoms had, like, the top 300 power was very varied. And even the difference between total and 100 mil pluses, it was pretty wide. So it really wasn't as close as I thought it was going to be. So that's why I think going off top 300 player power and or 100 mil plus power is a little bit more accurate if you're using it as more of a primary source and or even a secondary. And then when you start to kind of get to the tertiaries or the thirds and additionals, then I would say, factor those in if you're trying to do something like a combined weighted average. And that's something I would really like to do. I just need to spend a little bit more time on it. So this is, like, again, potential matchups that you would see. And I'll kind of highlight these because I want to try and spend a little bit more time maybe on the top 300s, but I will show you these ones because the next one for P2 and P1 are a little bit more detailed too as well. So this just kind of goes to show you some of the groupings here. Like I said, I'm probably going to go through this semi-quickly just for those of you that are curious. And again, I'm sure, and the reason I'm doing it like this is because it's above my head. So you guys can at least see the numbers on the right is at least how I see it. Yeah, because again, unless I go, I guess I could just turn off cam for this one and then highlight these a little bit if I want to go a little faster. Yeah, I guess this is okay. Basically at the end anyways. Then we got this, the potential last group. I think this has 10 or so, 1, 2, 3, 5. Yeah, something like that. Okay. I'll come back and surprise you. Boo. So let's go to P2. Now P2 is, again, this one is going to be based on, so this one is based on meeting a particular power average from the top 300 player power. So an example, if you see the combined KvK group power, this one, if we put these top 6 alliances in the group, there would be about 121 billion power. The next group would be 105 billion. But then if we look at the third group as an example, third group would be 115. And so these matchups are based on if you were to try and keep the power for the KvK somewhere around 115, 120. And this means that you're doing divisibles of 2, right? So basically I'm just adding I'm adding kind of 2 by 2 kingdoms here and there just to try and meet that 115 to 120 billion power. It's kind of an interesting approach to it because it definitely leads, I think, to some interesting groupings and pairings. Now, keep in mind, you can also apply this same threshold or minimum at a different combined KvK power. So it doesn't have to be 115. You could go down to 80. You could do 75, 70 mil. You could do 100 mil, right? Because I think the thing we have to consider is that if you're trying to get a little bit higher power, you're also going to have a lot more players in the KvK. It is late for me. I'm going to bed right after this. So all my kids are down. So you have 116 billion here. But if you have a lot more kingdoms in the KvK, you usually are going to have more activity. And I think really where you're trying to figure out the sweet spot is how much power is the right amount of power that equals the right amount of activity where we're not going to get an extreme amount of lag and stress that's being put on the KvK / the server. And so I think that's really where you have to kind of look at it. So maybe 115, 120 bill is a little bit too high. Maybe it's just right. But this is just an example, right, that I'm giving kind of in this P2 prediction. And then you have another one here that is a lot, right? There's a lot. I think there's 36 kingdoms in this last one. So that'd be you putting 6 kingdoms in each starting zone 1. However, I think you can sell this on that because they've done one before, I think, where they had high 20s. They had a high 20 amount of kingdoms in a KvK, and some had 4 or 5 kingdoms in a zone 1. So it's not like there isn't precedent for this that has already been set by the COD team / developers themselves. Now let's go into P1. P1 for me is what I think is probably more likely based on what we've seen happen before multiple times. And this is where if we did the top 6, right, you'd have RFF, NF57, WGL, NA, HOU, WFG. If we did the next group, right, you'd be FSK, MM, POTC, CENT, VOS, VP22. The third group, and you notice the power, right, 105, but instead of us trying to match that up, we just keep going down in order, right? So this would be RK, YBD, 282, KL, 714, BSOEV. You'd have Pay to Win, CNN, NXW, JKL, RNW, DK. Right now it's 77. Again, this is all pretty standard for what we usually have seen. And I didn't add up any totals here. Again, I probably could have, but I just wanted to kind of use that as an example, right? Once the matchups are there, then I'll go through and, well, sorry, not even matchups, because we still have to figure that out. So what we would do is this. Once we know what the matchups, or sorry, once we know the kingdoms that are going to be in each of the KvKs, I'll go through and I'll do another video where I give team predictions, right? So who should be, who should ally with who based on how the numbers look. And I'll give a prediction on there. This is more of like, who do I think is going to be in that KvK group in particular? And then we have the next group, which would be 61, right? Bomb, NAOB, Gray Unit, RGU, K56. We have another one here, right, which would be Mojo, OR, SVR, 54, RR, and AVIC. Next group would be MCU, GDW, VW, SIW, VKG, WIC. Next group here would be LF, SGW, CFRA, DO, 013, MH2. Next group, ANGE, 377, DTF, RE, 1BD. And then, because the power started getting a little bit lower, I basically just like doubled the groups at this point. Right now, that doesn't need to happen. You could still just do the next 6 and go from there. But I was also kind of thinking about, well, what if some of the kingdoms just might not be strong enough to maybe capture some passes, or having some difficulties with behemoths, having a little bit more activity there and a little bit more power, I think could help. So whether or not, that's something you would do or not, again, I just kind of did it for that sake. Then we move into the second to last group. I think this is, right, a lot there. And then the last one, I think this would be 10 kingdoms. So again, you still kind of get those nice divisibles of 2. Then obviously the lowest one, right, if I just combine all those, ends up being 8, right? This one's 54, 36. Now, maybe you could just combine this and then you'll get to 44. So it's not that bad. That could be an option as well. But yeah, that pretty much shows all the kingdoms, PvP stats, and then what I think some of the predictions could be. I think P1 is still the most likely, just because that's been the one that we've seen most consistently, where they're not trying to balance the KvKs based on having a minimum set amount of power. It's more of like, oh, well, let's just do it maybe based on how much activity is going to be there. Now, do I think that they're going to pair the top 6 kingdoms together based on history? I think it's less likely. They have done it, I think, once or twice before. I know at least once they've done it this way. I would love for them to do it again this way. But do I think that it is probably not the number one highest percentage play that they will do? I do. And that's just based on historical trends that they've already set thus far. But that's what I would like to see. And I almost wonder if others would like to see that as well. But with that being said, that pretty much does it for what we have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this Gen 1 Season 3 kind of PvP Kingdom breakdown and predictions of who we think we might find in a KvK group, or I should say the upcoming KvK groups once they end up getting announced, during most likely the Brink of War stage starting phase, which is going to be happening at reset going into March 1st tomorrow. That's it for me. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. As always, until next time, I'll catch you later.